So do you want to start this morning or do you want me to?
Good morning, Streakers.
Ooh, that was really good. That was
good.
awesome.
Welcome to your day.
Welcome to your day. Good morning, fellow Streakers. That was really good, hon.
Thanks.
You should start more often.
Every day from here on out. I will
Every
start.
single day. You're going to start.
Welcome,
fellow Streakers.
Good day.
We've been having so much fun. You know, after the book was released and after the app was released, which the app took just a little bit longer than what we thought it was going to be, but it was finally released. We've been hearing from all kinds of people about how great it is and all the different things that they're doing. One of the fun things, though, that I loved was that my sister Tiffany, she posted to her followers just about the book and the app and everything else. Now, what's interesting is her community is...
Crocheters. She has a beautifully wonderful community of people that love crocheting.
And when we talk about community, she has how many subscribers? It's like...
Close to 400,000.
400,000, I think, subscribers that subscribe to her crochet blog. And what she does is she has these beautiful blankets, beautiful... she's done mittens before, and what do you call it? What are the head things? I mean, are they the headbands? Hats, sweaters.
Children's sweaters.
So what was really cool is because what she posted about is she crocheted a couple of hats for us.
Yes.
And they're beautiful.
And the colors to match the book.
And the colors to match the book and the app and everything else. The other thing that Jamie and I have been doing is, and we're excited about, is we have been interviewing with other people that are podcasting.
We're excited. We're going to start telling you about different podcasts that we get to be on.
Yeah, one of the ones that's coming up that we'll highlight right now is Jim Hewling, Find Your Fire. We're going to be recording with him in the next week. I think it's next. Is it next week?
Yep.
We'll be recording with him and just talking about streaking. And he actually was one of the individuals that helped us on this entire road. I mean, he is a phenomenal person.
Back at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Before we even knew what we were doing.
Before we even ventured on the path.
Back when we were just toddling along.
He was great too. So he has a podcast about Find Your Fire, which is all about really finding within you what it is you want to do. What's your passion? You know, what do you want to go after? And I remember I had asked him for a little bit of advice early on, and he spent a day with me of his own time,
right,
out of the goodness of his own heart, and really just helped me to see what it was that I enjoyed and how I could progress and move forward.
Right.
Remember I shared that with you? I mean, I came back, I was fully stoked.
So excited. And I think that was kind of the genesis again of like, well, who do you want to be? What do you love doing? And it kind of helped, work with that.
And which brings up a good point, because we had a fellow streaker out there ask us a question.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's a good question. And I think it's a question that we're going to get often.
Yes. This is we actually, not only are we going to get it often, we have gotten it often, which is, how many streaks do you guys have?
Yeah.
I mean, and we're always a little bit hesitant to answer this question. And I don't know, the reason why we're hesitant to answer this question as far as how many streaks you guys have is because we started with one.
And for a long time, we started with one. And this is one of the things that I think about as we introduce the concept and with the book being launched and the app out there, is that there's an excitement and you want to get going. And I look back to us and we did just one for a really long time. Really long time.
And that one, what was interesting about doing that one, as far as run or walk at least 1 mile daily, is it had a couple of built-in governors, if you will, that we didn't recognize right away. In other words, we were following the laws of streaking before we even realized that we were doing it. And so one of those laws was make it laughably simple.
Right.
And go ahead.
Well, and part of that was that we had to start over a couple times. And even before that, before we started the streak, we kind of had, well, for me personally, a recognition that I was like, if I really want to do this every day, I've got to make it so that I can do it every day.
Which is interesting, because to be a part of the Running Streak Association, you have to run at least a mile every day. In other words, they set it for you. And we've talked about this on past podcasts, but I think it's important because if you're just now starting to listen to streaking, one of the things that you right away, it is motivational, because you think about, I can do something laughably simple.
Right. And the thing that's so funny and counterintuitive is that you can do something laughably simple, but it's going to be really hard to keep it simple. You're going to start off doing something
That is
harder.
so weird.
It is. You're going to be really excited and really motivated, and you're going to want to set 5 streaks, and you're going to want to shoot for the moon, and then you're going to tame it back just a tiny bit, and you'll be like, oh, okay, now I've made it laughably simple.
Right.
But you still haven't. You still are shooting for close to the moon.
And it's true. I mean, because one of the things that we, again, had to, over 300 days of streaking, just run or walk a mile, at least daily, we had to fight our own ambition, our own, well, let's do more.
Right.
If I can do a mile, I can do more.
I can do more, and I'll add to it, and I'll get better, and I'll be, and the thing that's what kept us going at the beginning was that our focus, we literally, because it was an exercising goal, it was running.
Right.
Because it was running, we had a lot of goals for personal bests or increase our distance or increase our speed. This was the first time that we literally were changing the focus from, I'm not going to look at all at how fast I run or my personal best or the distance in the sense of trying to get a better distance each time. I'm literally only going to focus on, can I do this every day? Can I be consistent?
And that's a different focus than we had ever had before.
Focus,
because
right.
before that, we were, okay, can we run the marathon in less than,
right.
Whatever the time was?
I want to beat the
5,
time that
4,
I had
3,
last
whatever
time.
hours.
Or yesterday I did 3 miles. This week I want to do, 4 or 5, whatever.
Right.
You're always wanting to increase at some level so you can feel that improvement. See, I'm getting better.
And I think that relates so a little bit to what Rick was saying as far as, he's looking at starting his streaking journey. And he's thinking about it and he's saying, okay, how many streaks? Because once you look at the laws of streaking and you say, wow, this is a whole new way of looking at things. This has nothing to do with habits or routines. This is not anything about goals. This is truly about how long can I do this activity? And in order to look at it and say, how long can I do this activity? The first thing is I need to make it laughably simple. And I'm pausing on this point just a little bit because it is, like you said, counterintuitive. The other thing I think about is not wanting to up it right away.
Right.
To look at the consistency of it as the victory.
It is really difficult to be patient. In fact, it's one of the things that I have enjoyed about streaking. I think it's an ancillary benefit, is to look at it and realize that you're having to be patient.
Right.
And rewarding yourself for that patience, I guess, in some ways, that the patience and the diligence and the consistency is the reward, not the destination of the glory of how, what you're going to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Not that you don't accomplish things, but it's a really different switch to go back and to be like, okay. And that's my big concern as people start doing this, is being patient.
Yeah.
Of allowing it to just be okay with your laughably simple. In fact, I would almost challenge people maybe a little bit to force yourself to only do the laughably simple, like consistently.
Right. Well, isn't that what we talk about?
So that you're okay with it, that you're like, okay, I did it.
Only the laughably simple. I mean,
Only.
we talk about
Don't
this
do more.
In the sense that just is a 4-letter word in streaking vocabulary. We do not just say, well, I just wrote a sentence,
right.
or I just ran or walked a mile, or I just read a paragraph. We ban that from all of our language. And the reason why we do is, believe me, there are enough things in your life to feel guilty about.
Yes.
I mean, there's plenty.
And there's enough things for you to stretch. You are going to have things in your life that are stretching you. And there may be things even around your streaks that you end up looking and setting a goal for that has an end in mind, a finish line that you cross, so to speak. But for a streak, it is so great. I love that we say, include the at least so that you give yourself the room to do more sometimes. But learning to be okay with the consistency takes a little bit of time. Learning to recognize that the victory is, I'm doing this thing every day. I'm adding this into my life. I'm thinking about it. I'm being more purposeful. It's becoming a conscious part of my day. It's not taking over my day. I don't have to have it take over my day. It's just slowly becoming something that is a part of my life, my day, my week, all the time. That it's. So
in saying that, I want to get back to a little bit what Rick was saying as far as how many streaks do you have?
Well, and I'm curious why he asked it.
And that's one of the things. So one of the things in his question was also, How do you overcome and we've been talking a little bit about this as far as if you stumble right up front. Now we're kind of teasing you a little bit because we will reveal to you how many streaks we've had, but we're not going to do it just yet. We want, as you listen, you'll start to hear and feel and see how we added our streaks and why we added what we did. And Rick's question right up front is, how do I stop? Or how do I not get frustrated
when I stumble?
When I stumble a little bit and I struggle out of the gate. And I guess what I interpret that is in other words, I lose a couple of streaks. I kept it going for 30 days or 40 days and then the streak broke. Well, I'll just tell you right up front, I started a streak to write at least one sentence daily. And I was 245 days into that streak and I missed it. The next day, 246, did not happen. And I woke up the morning of day 247 and I woke up and I thought, what happened?
How did I miss it?
How could I miss something so laughably simple?
And something that you had been doing for so long.
And I looked
200
back,
days is months.
Exactly.
Months of doing this.
Almost a full year. We're 100 days shy, a little over 100 days shy of a full year.
Right.
What was it about it that caused me to miss it? And it was an upfront stumble. It was something that I looked at. Now, some people will say, well, you should focus on the success. Absolutely. I felt great that I had been writing that time.
So honestly, what happens is that you do focus on the success. The fallacy that you don't, that by recognizing that you missed a day is omitting what you've done, is not actually what happens. What happens is you look back at it and you're like, okay, I did that for 246 days. Well,
That's
I guess you did for 245. But the thing that's interesting is that what has happened is that you're looking at it going, I haven't been doing it that consistently before.
Right.
But
Ever
now
before.
I was. And you start to look back and you're like, I've been writing and I like that this is a part of my life and I want to keep it going.
Absolutely.
So maybe part of it is to expect stumbles. I mean, the point is to keep it alive. That's the motivation, is like keep the streak alive, keep it, having it be in there. But sometimes things happen and you do miss, but the motivation to start over is there.
Oh, it's right there because one, I had to evaluate, was it laughably simple?
Yeah.
And it was laughably simple. What I recognized, and this is where I started another streak. It's interesting. I recognized that I was mentally checking off that I had done everything.
In your head.
In my head.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really recording it. So I wasn't following one of the laws of streaking, which is where law number 2 comes into being. No record, no streak. And there's a lot of reasons for the record. I mean, as you start to look at it and consider it, the record is not only a validation that I have done the streak, but it's also the lifeblood of the streak. It serves two purposes there. The streak wants to live, and so it pulls me along in a sense, and I want it to live. Well, the record is the only way that I can see whether or not the streak is alive.
Right.
So when I recognize that I broke one of the laws, then of course the streak's going to break.
Right.
And that's okay.
To keep a record of it.
Right. So do you want to know how many days since that? So 245, I broke it, and then I started over. So you want to know how many days now?
Where are you at?
Should we tell everyone?
Or
maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should have them download the app, become my friend.
There you go.
And then I'll reveal. If you become my friend,
you'll know how many.
You'll know how many days in a row I've written this sentence.
Written at least one sentence.
Or if you send me an email, I actually have it on the bottom of my email. How many days in a row I've written a sentence. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
You're just gonna leave it out there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. So I loved I loved with Rick's question of, okay, the other thing that I've noticed, so the two things that we've looked at when you stumble at the beginning here or any time is asking yourself, is this truly laughably simple? Did I actually get it to the point that it really is laughably simple, or is it a little bit harder? Do I need to even make it more simple?
And that kind of self-analysis is okay.
Super important,
and
actually.
To look at it and say, laughably simple is okay. Because the other thing that laughably simple does is it gives you a place to stand for success.
Right.
In other words, I'm going to have a success every single day. And it feels really, really good. It really, honestly, as I look at my streaks and as I complete them daily, I look at them and I think, you know what? I've had another day full of success of becoming who I want to be.
Right.
Anyway, I interrupted you. You were going.
So you go through it and you're like, is it laughably simple? And if you're able to look at it and say, you know what? Yeah, it is. That wasn't the problem. This is simple enough. I could have done it. And I'm keeping a record of it. For whatever reason, I missed in the record or whatever. The other thing that's, I think, important to see when you're first starting is that you are adding something into your life. And life is busy, and we have a lot of things we're trying to do and a lot of distractions. And it's okay to recognize that it may take a couple times for that you purposely continue to choose to add it back into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So like for me with reading to the boys, I know that's kind of how we started on team streaking, but for the first 3 times that I missed it, I started that streak over myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it consistently was like the first time I missed it on a Friday. The next week I missed it on Saturday. The next week I missed it on Sunday. Like each time I got a little bit.
You had started that streak over, what, 3, maybe 4 times?
3 times. And that was the 4th time that I was like, I had gone 2 weeks then. I had made it through one weekend.
Yeah.
And then we were on to
another
second weekend, and I missed it again. And that's when our son was like, "Oh, it's okay, Mom. I read to him."
Right. Which team streaking we're going to talk a little bit about in our next podcast. Not this one, but the next one. And we've got some really interesting ideas around team streaking. Now, the one thing that Jamie and I will admit right up front is we've not had a lot of experience in team streaking. We have some great concepts and some great ideas. One of our streakers, Laurel, has had a lot of experience looking at team streaking, but we're going to talk about that on the next one because what you just said was so significant as far as any one of us read to Bowen and Chance and what that looks like. So, but the evaluation, so back to where we were, the evaluation of, is the streak laughably simple?
Right. Am
I keeping a record?
Am I keeping a record? Is that what made me stumble?
The team streak really is where we started the community.
Where it started the community, that the community was a part of it.
We looked at it and we said, you know what? Every streak is a part of a community.
Mm-hmm. So what happened is what I recognized when I broke that streak several times as I got started on it was that it was something that was important to me, and I was willing to keep trying to get it to stick. And I had success. I was doing it consistently. But it was okay that it took basically 3 times of starting over to really be like, okay, this is something that I'm adding into my life, that it's important enough to me that I'm going to be purposely restarting this. I'm going to start over again. And the success that I did have is what propelled me. It was what helped me be like, okay, for that week, I read to the boys every day.
That's so
I was
good.
enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sharing this time together, and I wanted that. I wanted that to keep happening. And so that's the thing. I think,
just a quick question for you. As the boys get older, how long do you think you'll keep that streak alive?
I have thought about that too. And I'm wondering, I don't know.
Because right now, how many days?
I don't want to answer that question because then my children are growing up and I'm like, oh, do I have to think about them? Maybe when Bowen is 18, I'll call him in college and be, hey, can I read to you tonight?
It reminds me of that book. What is it? I'll love you for always.
Yes,
I'll love you forever.
I love you forever.
Yeah,
I'll be the woman climbing over bringing the ladder and climbing up into the room.
And rocking him back and forth and back and forth and back and forth when he's 35.
Yeah.
I like you for always. I'll love you forever.
We break into song.
As long as I'm living. My baby, you'll be. There we go.
I love that. It's a cute book.
I love that book.
Now
I can see it. You're going to break into the room and you're going to read, hey, guys, got to read 5 sentences.
Got to read too, yeah. Honestly, I don't know how long that is going to go. And that's another thing to think about.
I'm kind of getting a little emotional thinking about it. Are you?
No, because I'm not going to think about it. My children are going to stay this age forever, so I can keep them right here. I'm just going to live in denial.
I'm okay that they move out. I know
other people are probably like, denial? Don't you want them to grow up?
Yeah. Really? Can't wait for him to leave.
But you bring up a really good point, and something that I was thinking about this morning is that it is important to keep a streak alive, but your life will change and you may need to add different things. And maybe some streaks they've served their purpose.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, I may read to the boys until Chance is, I don't know how old, but there may come a point that it's like, okay, that streak has served its purpose. And there may be other streaks that I want to add because my life has changed and my needs are different and who I want to be is growing and evolving. Which
brings us to the point. So one of the things about Rick saying, if you stumble out of the gate, and then he also asked about, if your focus is on winning rather than who you want to be or being, becoming someone, that could stumble as well. The thing that I started to think about, and I wanted to ask you about this as far as winning is concerned. All right. So winning is an interesting concept because you can win in a whole bunch of ways.
Right.
One way we talked about on our last podcast about outputs versus inputs. And if I'm focused on the output, that may derail me
Right.
from really what I need to do on the inputs.
Right.
Now, if I focus on the inputs, the mood swings that come from only focusing on the outputs are minimized because I'm like, you know what? I'm winning. And that's what I love about the Laughably Simple every day is I'm winning at this thing every single day.
Every single day. But the thing that's interesting about the winning, and this is where I go back to the patience thing, is it takes a little bit of time for you to recognize, to feel that you're winning.
Yeah.
Like it takes a little bit of time of that being patient for enough of what you've been doing to add up to
Right.
be like, okay, I'm winning at what I'm doing,
Right.
rather than this constant look at a destination.
I love that as far as the constant look at the destination, where you're going, what it is you're doing. It's really the inputs that I'm focused on.
Right.
And that's really it.
And the more that you can do that, the more you focus on that input,
Right.
the more you can stay true to what you're doing.
Absolutely. So as we talk about and think about his question, all right, as far as, you know, how do I avoid the stumbling? It's okay to look at it and to say, there may be some stumbling, and that's okay. Second thing is to look at it and say, am I following the laws of streaking? And third, what I look at when he asks how many streaks, the question is, why are you streaking?
Right. Why are you adding this to your life?
So Simon Sinek, he has a TED Talk. I'm getting like a really weird delay. Are you hearing it as well?
I'm not, but I heard it on myself a few minutes ago.
Did you
so
really?
maybe-
It's kind of a weird delay. Anyway, we're almost at the end, so we'll fix this delay on the next podcast.
But Simon Sinek has a TED
Simon
Talk.
Sinek has a TED Talk on focus on the why. In other words, look at the why, don't first and then the how, which a B statement is all about the why, and then how is the streaking.
Yep.
Well, that's enough for this week. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed. I know we have. If you want to get a hold of us, email us at
Jamie at streakingmastery.com.
or Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at streakingmastery.com. Until we talk again, everyone, keep streaking.
But it's January 4th, and you're already feeling blue. Go big or go home, they say, but I can show you a simpler way. It's the small and simple things that make the life we live worth living. Among the rush, do one push-up, become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry, don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that make a better you. A better you.